Viewer discretion. This story I'm about to tell, it's a little graphic. If you're not used to that, you might want to ignore this. It's been about 15 years now, and it still haunts me. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever fully heal from it. 15 years ago, I went to visit my parents. I hadn't seen them in over 2 years since I moved to a new city, but we talked all the time. I was an only child, so it was normal for me, my mom, and my dad to be on the phone for hours sometimes. That's why it felt strange when for about 3 months communication got off. Whenever I called my dad, it would be short. He'd say he was busy, working on something. I'd ask about my mom, since her line wasn't even going through anymore, and he'd just say she wasn't around, or she went to visit friends. Now, my dad and my mom never really had a rosy marriage. I knew about their frequent fights. My dad can be, I don't want to say controlling, that feels too extreme, but he likes things a certain way. Still, most of the time they would argue and then get over it pretty quickly. But my mom was never the type to just leave like that, especially not for that long. I had been wanting to visit, but I kept pushing it because of work. Eventually, I told my dad I was coming to stay for a week. By the next day, I was in Boston. When I got to the house, it looked different, like they had renovated everything. New couches, different setup, even the walls looked freshly done. It didn't feel like the same house I grew up in. My dad opened the door, hugged me, said it was good to see me. First thing I asked was about my mom. His response was off. He said she was at her sister's place, said they had a verbal fight and she needed space. I didn't push it at first. I was just happy to be there. But the first 2 days weren't what I expected. It was just me and their cat and me, so. Dad was in the basement almost the whole day, and when he wasn't, he was out. We barely talked. It felt distant, like something was on his mind, but he wasn't saying it. What bothered me more was I still hadn't seen or heard from my mom. I asked him if she had maybe changed her number. He said, well, she hadn't been picking my calls too. I asked for how long. He said, about 3 months. No worry, nothing. That's when my stomach dropped a little. I texted my mom on Facebook. It took almost a day to reply. Hey Matthew, I'm fine. I'm at my sister's place. I'll be back soon. That was off. She never called me Matthew, always Matt. I called my aunt. She told me straight up my mom wasn't with her. Said they'd been texting, but the last message she got was about a week ago. At that point, I knew something wasn't right. I confronted my dad and told him we were reporting her missing. He agreed, no pushback. Police came, asked questions, wrote everything down. They asked if my mom had any mental issues, and I said no. I told them about the texts about my aunt. They spoke to my dad separately, but in the end, they said since there was no clear sign of foul play, and my dad claimed she left on her own, there wasn't much they could do immediately. They filed a report and said they'd follow up. Then they left. That didn't sit right with me. Days passed, then a week. Nothing. At some point, I kept thinking about the house, the renovations. It didn't make sense. One night, I heard sounds from the basement. That wasn't unusual. My dad was always down there. But then the smell started. It spread through the whole house. It was bad, strong enough that I had to step outside just to breathe. When I got outside, I saw the fire pit. My dad was there, burning something. I asked what it was. He looked kind of frantic and said, just some old stuff. Sorry about the smell. I didn't question it. I went back inside. That's when I noticed the basement door was slightly open. I don't know why, but I just stood there for a second, looking at it, like I was waiting to hear something. It was quiet. I walked over and pushed it open a little more. Then I went down. The basement looked completely different. It wasn't how I remembered it at all. It felt finished, like someone had been spending a lot of time down there. There was a TV on one side, a couch, lights set up properly, even a refrigerator. It didn't match the rest of the house. I opened the fridge. There were groceries inside, drinks, and a lot of packaged meat, way more than made sense. I just closed it and stood there for a second. Something about it felt off, but I couldn't explain why. Then I noticed another door toward the back. I don't remember that door being there before. I walked up to it and just stood there for a few seconds. I don't even know what I was thinking. I almost turned back, but I didn't. I opened it. The smell hit immediately, way stronger than before. It was the kind of smell that makes you step back without thinking. I covered my nose and still stepped inside. The room looked wrong. There were plastic sheets hanging from the ceiling, covering parts of the walls. The floor looked like it had been cleaned too many times, and along the sides there were large freezers. I just stared at them for a second. I didn't want to open any of them, but I still walked up to the closest one. I remember putting my hand on the lid and just leaving it there for a few seconds. Like if I didn't open it, then nothing would change. Then I lifted it. At first, I didn't understand what I was looking at. It was just shapes, wrapped up tightly in plastic. I stared at it longer than I should have, trying to make sense of it. Then I noticed something through the plastic, and that's when it clicked. I shut it immediately, just closed it and stepped back. I kept shaking my head like I was trying to tell myself I saw it wrong. I didn't want to believe it, but I already knew. I looked over at the other freezers, and that's when it really hit me. There wasn't just one. I didn't open the others. I didn't need to. I turned and walked out of the room, faster this time, then up the stairs. By the time I got outside, I was already dialing 911.
This time, the police didn't leave. They searched everything. They found multiple bodies. My mom was one of them, but not the only one. That part messed me up the most, because it meant this wasn't something that just happened. It had been going on. My dad was gone by then. They found his truck about 3 miles away, abandoned. They never found him. Later, they found out my mom had actually bought another house. All her belongings were there, even her phone, which meant the messages I got were from him, not her. They said he'd been doing this for a while. I still think about it, about my mom, about what she went through, and about the fact that the person who was supposed to protect her was the one who ended her. I went to therapy, tried to move on, but some things don't leave you. And the worst part is, there's no ending. He's still out there, or at least nobody ever found him.